The drama begins with our hero Sang-hyuk standing on top of a tall building with a love rifle in his hands. From a distance, he sees a man on a blind date with his girlfriend. The man clearly likes her but hesitates to confess his feelings. Our hero aims at him and shoots, hitting him right in the heart, dear viewer. But nothing bad happens because it's a bullet of love. Then he shoots the girl as well, and suddenly the two of them are drawn to each other. They confess their love and hug in front of everyone, leaving the crowd surprised at their actions. Sang-hyuk then returns home after completing his mission successfully, and we find out that he's actually a love angel who lost his wings 500 years ago and has been living as a human ever since. He shares his home with 3 others who were also once like him. One of them even turns into a dog because of a curse. Our hero gets angry because they're all so careless. Nobody wants to clean the house. And it's gotten so bad that the friend who turns into a dog actually pees on the floor. They start arguing since each of them thinks they're right and not at fault. And in the end, Sang-hyuk is the one who cleans everything up. He's basically their servant now because he was the reason they all ended up like this in the first place. We then see a flashback to 500 years ago. They were on a mission shooting love arrows at a maid and a prince to bring them together in a beautiful love story. But our hero fell in love with the maid himself and stepped in to protect her with his own body. Because of that, they failed their mission, were struck by a curse, lost their wings, and became ordinary humans. They realized that the only way to break the curse is to shoot love arrows at people who can't confess their feelings until they return to their true forms. Back in the present, Sang-hyuk is cooking for them, serving them, and even taking the dog friend out for a walk out of pity, dear viewer. This is what love does. It makes you serve others endlessly. The next day, we see an animal clinic where our heroine, Baek, works. All her colleagues are jealous of her because she's so beautiful that anyone who looks at her falls in love at first sight. But one of the nurses tells them that despite her beauty, she's cursed. Every time she likes someone and starts a relationship, something terrible happens to him. She tells the story. The first boy who loved her when they were kids broke his finger. The second one, oh, don't even ask, got struck by lightning at school. The third slipped and hurt himself badly. And the fourth, dear heavens, nearly choked to death while eating. Thank goodness he survived. From that time on, she became traumatized and too afraid to fall in love or get close to anyone. Our heroine then remembers a flashback from 3 years ago when she went to a fortune teller to ask how to break her curse. The fortune teller told her that she was cursed because of something she did 500 years ago in her past life, and now she is paying the price. To break the curse, she must climb a mountain 1,000 times, and on the very last climb, the curse will be lifted, and she will meet the person destined to love her. Back to the present, we see the heroine climbing the mountain for the 995th time. On her way down, she passes by our hero. The moment she lays eyes on him, she feels drawn to him because he's so handsome, and she secretly wishes to get to know him, but she's terrified that he might get hurt because of her curse. So she forces herself to leave him behind and walks away. Later, our hero also climbs the mountain and recalls his memories from 500 years ago when he still had wings. That night, the heroine returns to her apartment where she lives with her friend. She happily tells her that she only has 5 more climbs left until her curse is broken and she can finally meet her true love. The next day, our hero takes his friends to have lunch at a luxurious restaurant that only accepts rich and famous guests. We find out that the owner of the restaurant actually knows their secret. He serves them personally, provides them with money, and takes care of anything they need. Then we see a flashback of his grandfather, who, before dying, entrusted him with the duty of looking after the love angels. He explained that they had been cursed because of something they did long ago, and it was their family's responsibility across generations to help them. At first, the grandson didn't believe any of it. But when he met our hero, the hero helped him marry the love of his life. Since then, he has been faithfully carrying out his grandfather's wishes. That night, as usual, our hero goes to the mountain. But on his way back, he finds a car parked in front of his own, blocking him. Unable to move, he decides to step into a nearby restaurant to look for the owner of the car. To his surprise, our heroine is there, completely drunk on lemon juice and totally out of her senses. The moment she sees him, she staggers toward him and calls him "my love" before collapsing in his arms. Our hero is shocked by what just happened. He takes her to his restaurant friend, asks him to pay her bill, and tells him what she just said. repeating her exact words, "My love." That meant the two of them had shared a drink together, so the restaurant owner teased our hero, asking, "Are you going to pay the bill, dear, or should I report you?" Our hero had no choice but to carry her to his car, but since he didn't know her address, they ended up taking her to the police station until she woke up and could go home herself. That very same night, the police discovered the buried bodies of two girls in the mountain, girls who had been missing for 30 years. Oh dear viewer, the story suddenly shifted, from tales of love straight into mystery. The next day, our hero received a call from the police. They told him that one of the buried bodies belonged to his lost lover, the only girl he had ever truly loved. He was devastated. At the station, he saw her scarf and remembered the last day he met her. She had been wearing it when she confessed her feelings to him and promised she would wait for him at the mountain that night. He had waited for her all night long, but she never came. When he went to her house, her family was in tears, searching for her, and he realized something terrible had happened. Back in the present, he went with the police to the place where her body had been found, and he cried endlessly, realizing that her body had been lying there near the mountain all these years without him knowing. Meanwhile, the heroine finally woke up in the police station with no memory of what happened the night before. She went to the mountain restaurant to ask what had happened. The owner told her, "Your boyfriend carried you away, and we don't know anything after that." She was confused and tried hard to remember his face, but she couldn't. She then saw a lonely girl sitting by herself and decided to sit with her. The girl turned out to be a nurse, and our heroine ended up telling her all about her curse. They bonded quickly, became close, and left the restaurant together. That night, our hero came down from the mountain as usual, while snow was falling from the sky. He saw a man abandoning his dog in the street and walking away coldly. Feeling pity, our hero took the dog and followed the man, then shot him with a love bullet to make him fall in love with his own dog, so he would never abandon it again. The next day, dear viewer, the heroine went to an art exhibition about love angels, and by coincidence, our hero was there too. When they met, he was annoyed with her for making him pay her drink bill, and she was upset at him for leaving her at the police station. But once she learned that he did it because he was worried about her safety, her heart softened. She thanked him, asked for his name, and tried to get to know him better. But he refuses to shake her hand, telling her that he's not a social person, then walks away and stands at a distance. Still, he's puzzled because unlike everyone else, she doesn't have a single love thread around her, which is very strange. The heroine notices that he keeps staring at her with full focus, and she starts to wonder, does he have a crush on me or something? She goes to him and warns him not to fall for her, because anyone who loves her ends up getting hurt. But then she catches his scent and finds herself drawn to it, leaning closer just to smell it again. This makes our hero nervous, and he keeps staring into her eyes, feeling that maybe he's falling for her. Embarrassed, she quickly apologizes and walks away, still surprised by his strange behavior. Later, the nurse who had been with the heroine at the restaurant suddenly disappears, and the police begin investigating her case. The restaurant owner had seen someone following the nurse, and when the detective reviews the CCTV footage, he sees our hero threatening the dog owner. Suspicion falls on him, though his face isn't clear in the video, and the detective starts to believe he's on the wrong track. It's then revealed that the missing nurse was married but unfaithful. The detective suspects her husband, who had met her on the day she disappeared. He denies knowing her whereabouts, but it's discovered they had argued because she was pregnant, and he had abandoned her in the car. With no evidence against him, the detective keeps searching for leads. Meanwhile, our hero drives his car and keeps following the heroine, curious about her. She's the only person he's ever met who has no love thread, and he's desperate to know why. Suddenly, the heroine receives a call from her clinic telling her that a dog has been in a serious accident and needs urgent care. She rushes there immediately with our hero secretly trailing behind. He then discovers that she works as a veterinarian. She manages to save the dog's life, then heads back home, while our hero memorizes her address and becomes even more obsessed, wanting to uncover why she has no love thread. That night, he dreams of her approaching him, warning him not to fall in love with her. He wakes up in shock, only to find his friend, the one who turns into a dog, sleeping in his arms. The next day, the detective tracks down the dog owner whom our hero had threatened with the gun, but to his surprise, the man tells him that the gun wasn't real, and that the hero was actually a kind person who saved his dog. In fact, he says he hopes to meet him again to thank him properly. The detective is left confused, finally realizing that our hero has nothing to do with the case at all. Meanwhile, the heroine can't stop thinking about the hero. She remembers the scent she smelled on him and realizes it was the smell of mulberry trees, the very same scent she used to love as a child. Her colleague tells her that it must mean she's already fallen for him, since he brings back her sweetest memories. And just at that moment, the detective walks into the clinic and is completely stunned by the heroine's beauty. The detective kept staring at her, clearly impressed, and soon realized why so many men visited that clinic, the beautiful veterinarian. He even took her number and waited patiently for his turn. At the same time, our hero couldn't stop thinking about her. He used the excuse of his friend, who had transformed into a dog, to take him to the clinic, just so he could see her again. When she spotted him, her face lit up, thinking it was fate that brought him back to her. She kept stealing glances at him, happy to see him again. But our hero wasn't pleased at all. The entire clinic was full of men, and he watched her smiling at them, feeling a stab of jealousy. Meanwhile, the detective sat waiting for his turn, observing our hero closely. When the hero looked back at him, he suddenly remembered something. This detective was once a prince in his past life 500 years ago. The recognition struck him, but the detective was simply watching him because he was strikingly handsome, seeing him as the only real rival in the room. Soon after, the heroine learned that the man who had the dog accident had unfortunately passed away. She wasn't sad about him, but she was heartbroken for the dog that no longer had an owner. The detective heard about the situation and seized the opportunity, offering to adopt the dog himself. But when she learned he was single and worked as a detective, she refused, saying he wouldn't have time to care for it. Still, he persuaded her, promising he was responsible and would prove it by visiting the dog every single day. And oh, dear viewer, it was clear he wasn't only talking about the dog. The heroine hesitated, but finally agreed, while our hero watched them from afar, filled with jealousy, yet again. When it was finally his turn to see her, the heroine was excited, even putting on makeup to look her best. But instead of being charmed, the hero was upset, convinced that she was laughing and acting the same way with every man who came to the clinic. He left abruptly, leaving her confused by his behavior. That same evening, a strange man entered the mountain restaurant. The owner immediately recognized him as the criminal connected to the nurse's disappearance and grew terrified. Not long after, the detective received a call reporting a fire at the restaurant. When he arrived, he found the owner dead, and soon after came another call. The second witness had also died. The detective returned to his office, stunned, unable to believe that both had died on the same day by coincidence. He realized the criminal had done it to silence them, and his worry grew for the third witness, who had been with the nurse the day she vanished. What he didn't know was that the third witness was none other than our heroine. That night, the heroine was walking home through a deserted road when she suddenly felt someone following her. Fear gripped her and she started running, but she tripped and fell. The criminal appeared, ready to harm her, but just in time, our hero arrived and fought him off. He threw the man to the ground and was about to pull off his cap to reveal his face when suddenly he noticed the heroine in danger. He rushed to shield her with his body as glass shattered and fell onto his head. The criminal used the chance to escape, but the heroine was left deeply touched by what the hero had done for her. Still, she was confused when she saw that he wasn't hurt at all, because she had always believed that anyone she liked would inevitably end up injured. She comes closer to check for herself and says to him, "How come there's no broken neck or broken arm? Are you really okay? What happened to you? You're just a human being." But he reassures her that he's fine. The heroine becomes happy and emotional, not believing it, and thinks that maybe the curse has been lifted. Then she realizes what she just did, pulls herself away, thanks him for saving her life, and leaves. She goes to meet her friend at the restaurant and tells her everything that happened. She still believes that the criminal who was chasing her was just one of her clinic's admirers, and that's why she didn't report him. She says she wishes the hero would be the fated man that the fortune teller told her about, but her friend reminds her that she still has 5 more encounters left, and not to forget that she has to climb and descend the mountain before the curse will be broken. The next day she goes up the mountain and keeps praying for the curse to end, saying, "Please God, I'll accept any man you send me," but deep inside she admits she only wants the hero, no one else, just him. When she comes down, she gets shocked again to hear that the restaurant burned down and the owner died, and the police are investigating the cause of the fire. Later, she returns to the clinic and calls the hero, pretending it's about bringing his dog in for a free checkup, but really it's just an excuse. He's still upset with her and treats her coldly, even hanging up on her, which leaves her feeling embarrassed for forcing herself on him. After that, the hero decides to take his friend and goes to the clinic anyway. At the same time, the detective also comes by to check on the dog, which annoys the hero when he sees him entering before him. He notices how the heroine is laughing and joking with the detective again and feels jealous. When it's finally his turn, she tells him his dog needs more walks to lose weight, and the dog looks sad as if saying, "What, do you think I'm fat or something?" She notices a scratch on the hero's face, so she takes out the first aid kit and nervously treats his wound. The hero enjoys her care and asks her to have dinner with him. Of course, she accepts, and he invites her to the fancy restaurant he usually goes to with his friends. Her friend had advised her earlier that she should be the one to pay for the dinner to make him fall for her, but she has no idea this plan will backfire badly. At night, she meets him, and impressed by his handsome looks, she tells him seriously that tonight she's the one treating him, so he should order whatever he wants. Our hero doesn't hold back and literally opens the entire menu. The heroine gets shocked by how expensive everything is and thinks to herself that maybe she shouldn't have been this generous. They start eating together, and the hero asks her about the qualities of her dream man. She admits that she once liked one of the clinic's customers. It's obvious he's jealous, but she clarifies that her relationship with him was purely professional and nothing more. And when they finish dinner, she goes to pay the bill, afraid that the money she has won't cover the feast they just had. She's surprised to find that the hero has already paid before she even got there. She gets upset with him, saying, No, you're embarrassing me. I told you I'd pay. Why are you swearing like that? Why did you even do this?" Then leaves feeling hurt because she thinks he's doing it to push her away. They both go home, each feeling down, because they like each other, but each one believes they've been rejected by the other. The next day, she climbs the mountain again, praying for the curse to be broken and for the hero to fall in love with her. At the same time, the hero attends the funeral of his old lover, feeling guilty because he still hasn't caught the killer. After the funeral, he goes up the mountain and happens to meet the heroine as she's coming down. She gets excited when she sees him, thinking maybe her prayers have been answered, and she runs toward him, taking out her phone to snap a picture of him to keep. He's confused by her behavior and tries to take her phone to delete the photo, but she stumbles and falls right into his arms. Oh, what a cinematic moment. She feels embarrassed and offers to buy him a drink to apologize. He agrees, and they sit together, having something to eat and drink, and the mood becomes more relaxed. She tells him about her curse, explaining that she has to climb the mountain 1,000 times, and she only has 3 times left. Then she'll finally meet the lover she's been waiting for. She asks him why he doesn't want to love, and he tells her about the girl he loved a long time ago, how everyone warned him not to, but he still did. And because of that, his lover was badly hurt. Since then, he decided never to fall in love again. The heroine is touched by his words and becomes emotional with him. Afterwards, they leave together and head to the car, waiting for the parking guard to bring the keys. When he arrives, the hero notices that the guard has the same mark on his hand as the man who attacked the heroine. He grabs him, intending to hand him over to the police. But the guard breaks down and confesses everything. He tells them who ordered him to do it, and they go to confront that person, who turns out to be the owner of the clinic across from the heroine's. She confesses that she did it to scare the heroine because ever since the heroine opened her clinic opposite hers, she's had no customers. She apologizes and begs for forgiveness. The hero wants to hand her over to the police, but he's shocked when the heroine forgives her because she feels sorry for her. After that, he walks with her, asking about her life, and she tells him she's an orphan, that she has no one, that she was found as a baby at the door of an orphanage and raised there. The first boy she loved was also there, and he got hurt because of her. His finger was broken just because she loved him. But she says she won't give up. She has to climb the mountain 1,000 times to find her true love and complete her life with him. The hero is moved by her words and starts to feel sympathy for her. He takes her home, she goes inside, and he's left standing there remembering a flashback from 500 years ago. Back then, he and his friend were angels with wings, and the hero was the most skilled among them. He spent his days shooting love arrows to bring couples together. There was a servant in the king's palace who prayed constantly, wishing to meet her true love, and on her 1,000th prayer, she finally met the prince. At that moment, the servant told him that she wished for him to one day take the throne because he was handsome and kind. The prince was delighted by her words and began to feel drawn to her. The hero saw them together and decided to shoot an arrow of love at them so they could be joined. But when the servant smiled at him, he became flustered and missed the shot. The arrow hit him instead, and suddenly he was the one who fell in love with her. Sadly, the next day the king died, and the queen conspired to eliminate the prince so her son could take the throne. The servant overheard this and rushed to warn the prince, but the guard spotted her and chased her through the forest. They shot an arrow that struck her shoulder and she fell from the cliff, but the hero caught her just in time and healed her wounds. The next day she ran again to try to warn the prince. The hero wanted to follow her, but his master appeared and told him he should never have saved her, that an angel could not fall in love with a human, and that he must never interfere again. The hero refused to listen, so his master trapped him in a circle of fire. The hero endured the pain and forced his way out, even as his wings burned away. Meanwhile, the guards attacked the prince's palace, planning to kill him. Suddenly, the detective wakes up from this dream, bewildered by what he saw, not realizing that he himself had been the prince in his past life. One of his team enters and tells him they've found the address of the girl who had met the missing nurse on the day she disappeared. He rushes there but mistakenly enters the heroine's neighbor's apartment, where the woman tells him she never once climbed the mountain. The detective feels disappointed, realizing she's not the witness they're searching for. Later, the heroine leaves her house and starts talking big, when the hero suddenly approaches, places his hand on her shoulder, and tells her he is the man she has been waiting for all this time. She lights up with happiness, thinking he's finally about to confess his feelings. But then he shocks her by saying he'll set her up on dates until she finds the right person. The heroine is stunned and annoyed, telling him to take his hand off her shoulder, please. The hero asks the heroine about the qualities of her dream man so he can help her find him. She gets annoyed because he's being silly and clueless, and she tells him she wants someone tall, handsome, broad-shouldered, and even a YouTuber, someone who doesn't get hurt when glass shatters on him. In other words, literally him. But our guy doesn't get it at all, not even a little bit. And instead he promises that he'll search for someone with those exact qualities for her. The heroine gets angry and tells him that God gave him everything except intelligence. She leaves upset, frustrated that he can't see her feelings for him. When she returns to the clinic, she tells her friend what happened. Her friend suggests maybe he's just pretending to be clueless to test her, and she's certain he'll come to make up with her. And indeed he does. The heroine starts to believe her friend is right and asks him if he's trying to circle around her or if he's really found her dream man. The hero replies that he just doesn't want her to stay alone forever and that he wishes to see her happy. She's touched by his words and asks him directly, "So does this mean you like me or what?" Meanwhile, we cut to the detective, who realizes he forgot his notebook in the witness's apartment. He goes back to retrieve it and coincidentally meets the witness's mother, who's on her way to visit her daughter. He asks her to fetch the notebook, but when she goes inside, the shocking twist is revealed. Dear viewer, the witness is dead. The detective is stunned and realizes the case is far more serious than he imagined. The next day, the heroine goes up the mountain again, this time carrying a photo of the hero, praying for the curse to be broken so he'll fall in love with her. But instead of her wish coming true, he sends her pictures of a handsome young man, and not just one, but several options, telling her she can take her pick. She keeps refusing, saying even if he sent her a photo of Tom Cruise himself, she wouldn't accept it because she only wants him, Later, when she returns to her building, she sees ambulances and police cars outside. She learns from her friend that her neighbor has died. But the detective is not convinced that this is a normal death and is certain it is a murder case. The hero watches the news on television and sees that all the witnesses connected to the case are being killed. He feels that this case is very similar to the murder of his lover because she disappeared on a snowy day, and he suspects it might be the same criminal, but he wonders why the killer waited 30 years to continue his crimes. He decides to investigate the matter himself and goes to the house of the missing nurse to look for evidence that might help him. But her sister refuses to let him in and even hits him. After that, the detective returns to the station where he meets the hero and asks to speak with him. When they sit down, the hero begins to tell him about the murders that happened 30 years ago and that he suspects it is the same criminal. He shows him a picture of the 5 women who were killed, all in winter while snow was falling. He discovered that each of them received a small red notebook the day before her death, and inside each notebook was one of the 7 deadly sins, such as theft, lying, gossip, and greed. The new case of the nurse was about betrayal because she was married and had an affair with another man. He asks the detective to believe him and to search for the killer, saying he is sure the murderer will commit 2 more crimes to complete the 7 sins, which are jealousy and illness. But the detective refuses to believe him, telling him he is too young and could not possibly know what happened 30 years ago. He tells him to go back home and not get involved in their work again. The hero is hurt because his lover was one of the victims, and he feels guilty because he still cannot take revenge on the murderer who killed her. He goes to the mountain, thinking about her, and when the heroine sees him, she reacts emotionally. They go down together and he drives her home. She gathers her courage and finally confesses her feelings to him, saying, "Look, I don't need to search for anyone else or any personality. To be clear with you, I like you, and I'm asking you to give me a chance for us to be together." The hero is shocked by her words, but becomes afraid she might get hurt because of him, so he decides to break her heart. He tells her he doesn't love her and that he was only helping her because he felt sorry for her, since she is an orphan and alone. The heroine is devastated by his words, returns home heartbroken, collapses in tears, and spends the whole night remembering when he saved her, still deeply in love with him. Meanwhile, the hero feels guilty and cannot sleep because of his conscience, but he did it because he was afraid she might die like his lover. The next day, the heroine decides to go to the mountain for the 1,000th time to break the curse, convinced that the hero loves her but is lying to her. All the way, she keeps looking at his picture without noticing that someone is watching her. At the same time, the detective goes to the clinic to check on the dog, but he notices a distinctive umbrella with the employee and learns from her that she was with the heroine on the day the nurse disappeared. He realizes she is the witness they have been searching for and senses that she is in danger, so he rushes to save her. After that, the hero also goes to the clinic to reconcile with her, but he learns that the employee is the last witness in the nurse's disappearance case. Shocked, he recalls under the mountain that it was his teacher who killed her, so he starts attacking him to take revenge. But of course, the teacher is stronger than him, and no matter how much the hero tries, he cannot even touch a hair of him. Instead, he is the one getting hurt, his body covered with wounds. But then it turns out the teacher is kind and reassures him that she is still alive. Back to the heroine, who's finally on the mountain for the 1,000th time. She feels someone behind her, stumbles, and is about to fall, but the detective arrives just in time to catch her. The heroine reacts emotionally, believing he is her destined prince. The detective takes her in his car and tells her everything about the missing nurse case, knowing she was the last one to see her. The heroine recalls seeing someone dressed completely in black approaching her, but she cannot remember his face because she had been drugged with lemon juice. She goes with the detective to the station, while the hero, his body covered in wounds from his fight with his teacher, rushes in, and she tends to him. The detective feels jealous and keeps arguing with his colleague, suspecting that she and the hero are together. His colleague scolds him, saying, "Come on, she's a doctor and she treated him, nothing more." But then the colleague adds sarcastically, "Wait, she's a veterinarian. Do you think the hero is a dog or what?" At that moment, the chief negotiator enters, already knowing the hero and speaking to him with respect. This is the heavy connection in the country. The detectives are surprised and no one understands why, since the hero is younger than him. They even think they might be relatives. They also start treating the hero with respect. When the heroine prepares to leave, the two men fight again, each one wanting to take her home, and they let her choose. Our girl, with no pride at all, chooses the hero, even though he had rejected her earlier, broken her heart, and crushed her feelings. But still, she loves him. And honestly, this is turning into one of those Indian dramas where love itself becomes the cause of death. She takes him with the clinic staff and treats his wounds, while he worries about her and begs her to stay away from the case. But she refuses, saying she has nothing to lose and insists on testifying. He decides to stay by her side to protect her. The next day, he asks his friends to take care of house chores because he won't be free anymore. Suddenly, their dog eats chocolate, and they all rush him to the clinic in panic. Since dogs are not supposed to eat chocolate because it can poison them, the heroine takes care of the dog, puts him in a cage for monitoring, and reassures the hero that the dog will be fine. Meanwhile, she also notices that his wounds have healed unusually fast, which makes her nervous. To distract her, he quickly changes the subject and introduces her to his friends. At that moment, one of his friends accidentally transforms back to his real form and escapes from the cage. The hero panics, worried they might be exposed, and asks his friends to take him away quickly. But the nurse discovers that the dog is missing from the cage and sees a dog that looks exactly like him outside. She suspects it's the same one, but the hero quickly covers up, insisting it's not, saying, "That's not mine. My dog must have gone home by himself. I trained him well." Meanwhile, the detective keeps thinking about what the hero said regarding the murders from 30 years ago. He decides to verify it himself, gets a search warrant, and goes to the missing nurse's house. There he finds the red notebook with the word betrayal written inside, confirming the hero was right and that all the cases are connected. He goes back to the station and questions the chief negotiator about what really happened 30 years ago. His superior finally reveals the truth. One day, two girls from the same school disappeared while wearing identical clothes. The police searched, but only found their clothes, never the girls. Every witness they tried to reach was killed, so they were forced to close the case because there was no evidence. But a year later, a young detective reopened the investigation. It turned out that detective was none other than the hero himself, searching for his lover. He discovered the red notebook and learned that it was always sent to victims before their deaths, demanding they confess their sins. But his lover never received the notebook. He later concluded she must have been killed by mistake because she was wearing the same clothes as her friend. They also learned that the young detective had actually managed to track down the killer once, but the murderer escaped at the very last moment. And the next day, the heroine leaves the clinic, joking that he has officially become her personal bodyguard, since he goes with her everywhere she goes. He even tastes her food and drinks before she does to make sure nothing is poisoned. She feels happy with his care and attention, and although he is glued to her side all the time, she secretly enjoys it. One time when she was eating at a restaurant with her friend, the hero handed her friend a spoon, and our heroine got so jealous she nearly smashed the table on his head. To calm her down, he quickly ate the food himself, and even ended up carrying her on his back all the way home. What used to be romance has now turned into something forced, but she's still pleased with it. The next day, the detective calls her in, wanting to put her under hypnosis so she can recall memories from the day of the incident. She agrees, and when she falls asleep, she sees the criminal and realizes he was the one kidnapping the nurse. She becomes nervous and frightened, and just before she wakes up, she recalls a piece of her past life memory where she sees the detective as a prince. She acts playful about it, pretending not to understand while he doesn't get what's going on. Afterward, he takes her home, wraps his scarf around her since it's cold, and warns her that tomorrow snow will fall, the same time murders usually happen. He makes her promise not to leave the house without him, and she feels happy knowing he is worried about her and agrees. The following day, she stays home, but her friend asks her to go with her to the supermarket. At first, she refuses because of her promise, but her friend insists and convinces her it will only take a short while. She reluctantly agrees and waits outside the shop, but then hears a scream and runs to check it out. When her friend comes back out, she doesn't find her and panics, searching everywhere. Meanwhile, the heroine finds an injured dog and stays to help it. At that moment, our hero goes to check on her at her house, but is shocked when he doesn't find her there. Worried, he rushes to the clinic, relieved when he sees her treating the dog, but also furious since he told her not to leave without him. He drives her home himself, and when her friend suggests he should stay the night because it's late, she even hints he could sleep over. Embarrassed, the hero hesitates, but in the end he agrees since the night isn't over yet, and he's afraid something might happen to them if he leaves. He sits down to have dinner with them, but her friend keeps teasing him nonstop, asking, "You must like my friend, right? You're crushing on her, aren't you?" He gets nervous and insists, "No, I don't love her. I'm not even attracted to her. Honestly, I'm only staying by her side to protect her." The heroine feels hurt, and her friend, seeing her upset, tells her, "That's enough. He already said he doesn't love you. Do you want to crush his pride even more?" Since it's late, the hero has no choice but to stay over. He goes into the heroine's room where she gives him clothes to wear, then she leaves to sleep with her friend. That night, she dreams of the fortune teller's words, and when she sees the hero covering his face shyly, she blushes and thinks, "Wow, what a real man." Meanwhile, the detective receives a report about a missing girl, and to his shock, he realizes she might be linked to the serial killer case. He searches her house but finds no trace of a red notebook. The next day, the heroine goes out to the clinic, but on her way, she accidentally bumps into a child, dropping a card from him that reads "Death." This reminds her of the fortune teller's warning, and she gets scared. That same day, the police discover that the missing girl was last seen at the same supermarket where the heroine and her friend had been yesterday. They call the heroine and her friend in for questioning, and of course, the hero goes along with her. The detective notices how he's always stuck to her and finally learns that he's working as her personal bodyguard. When they ask the heroine about what she saw that day, she says she did see the criminal's face, but can't remember the details. However, she insists she could recognize him if she saw him again. At the same time, one of the investigation team reviews the CCTV footage and discovers that the criminal was present at every place the heroine went, though his face never showed. Then shocking news comes in. They find the body of the missing girl. Everyone is stunned, and the heroine becomes even more terrified, realizing the criminal is probably targeting her next. Her friend begs her to stay away from the case, but she refuses, determined to help the police. She agrees to undergo hypnosis again to recall more details, and this time she successfully remembers part of the criminal's features and describes them. Later, the hero drives her home in his car while snow begins to fall. The heroine becomes delighted, holding the snowflakes in her hand. The hero, however, is struck by a painful memory. His late lover also loved the snow. For a moment, he sees the heroine as her. She gently wraps a new scarf around his neck to replace his damaged one and, smiling, tells him that she has finally decided to challenge her fate and follow her heart. She confesses her feelings to him and tells him that she loves him, then leaves. But the hero is shaken by her words and fears that he will regret it if he lets her go, so he runs after her and hugs her tightly. She keeps talking in her philosophical way, but inside she feels happy and safe. At the same time, we see the criminal in his hideout with pictures of his victims hanging on the wall, including photos of the hero and heroine, and he is holding the detective's daughter captive, getting closer to her before ending her life. The next day, the police show the picture of the criminal that the heroine described, and suddenly the hero comes in and tells them that this is not the real face of the criminal, that he uses a mask and makeup to change his appearance. Then the chief negotiator learns that the hero is actually the son of the detective who handled the case 30 years ago, and he also learns that the hero will be working with them on this case from now on. We then see a flashback to 30 years ago when the hero himself was the detective in charge of the case, and the negotiator was his assistant back when he was still young. People kept asking the detective about the criminal, and at that time, he saw a woman holding a red notebook with "sin of illness" written on it. She told her friend that she had gotten it from a crazy man, and the detective realized her life was in danger. He kept following her, and at night he saw the criminal trying to kidnap her. He attacked him and fought with him, but the criminal struck him hard and tried to escape. While running across the street, the criminal was hit by a car and collapsed unconscious on the ground. The detective approached him to arrest him, but suddenly the criminal went through a transformation and was reborn into a new body, which allowed him to escape. Returning to the present, the detective feels uneasy and unhappy that the hero is working with them on the case, but his superior forces him to cooperate with him in order to catch the criminal. The detective reluctantly listens and sits down with the hero, who tells him more details about how the criminal uses masks and disguises to hide his identity. Meanwhile, the heroine is on her way home when she senses someone following her. She panics, screams, and almost attacks him, but then realizes he is actually a police officer assigned to protect her since the hero is at the station working on the case. The heroine feels upset that the hero is distant from her. When she gets home, she tells her friend that she saw memories of her past life, where she was about to marry a prince. But another man appeared and stopped the marriage, leading to a war because of her. She also remembers seeing wings and believes that she was once an angel, living in a completely different world, but she has no idea that in reality she was just a servant. Her friend doesn't believe her and insists that this must be the sin she committed, which is now causing her suffering. At that time, the hero is standing under her apartment just to make sure she is safe, and when he returns home, he finds his companion waiting for him, warning him not to repeat the same mistake of falling in love with a human. He tells him that he must keep his distance from both the heroine and Detective Sam, because fate has destined that they will marry each other, but the hero refuses to listen, leaves without answering, and walks away. The next day, the heroine sends him a message asking him to come with her to the station, but he realizes she is just making excuses to see him, so he avoids her, so he won't weaken in front of her. Later, he finds out that the first victim of the criminal was the director of an orphanage, so he goes with the detective to investigate and learns from her assistant that she used to treat the children very badly. She also tells the hero that he looks exactly like the detective who handled the case 30 years ago, which makes him nervous and raises the detective's suspicions even more. When they return to the station, the heroine is already there, and the hero tries to hide from her, but she notices him and takes him outside to talk. She thinks he is married, which is why he is avoiding her, and she asks him, "Why did you hug me the last time we met? What am I to you?" The hero becomes flustered and tells her she is just a witness in the case, and that he hugged her only to comfort her. The heroine gets upset and insists on making him jealous. At the same time, the detective receives an old case photo from 30 years ago and sees that the hero still looks exactly the same. He remembers what the orphanage assistant said, and his suspicions are confirmed, so he goes to confront him. But to his surprise, he finds the heroine treating the hero kindly and even asking him to take her home. The hero becomes happy and agrees, and from that moment he keeps watching over her carefully. However, when he sees the detective getting closer to her, he feels jealous. The detective warns her to stay away from the hero because he doesn't trust him at all, but she refuses to listen. All night she keeps sending messages to the hero and feels sad when he doesn't reply. The next day, she remembers her moments with him and feels how much she misses him. Sitting with her colleague, she confesses, "You know what? I can't stop myself. Even if he turns out to be a criminal or even an alien, I would still love him." That night, she sits alone, feeling sad, drinking, and starting to hallucinate that she sees her lover. But suddenly the detective appears and comes to sit with her. She notices his resemblance to the prince who appears in her dreams, and begins to feel that maybe they are truly destined for each other, so she keeps drinking with him. The hero sees them and feels like shooting them with an arrow of love, but he just can't bring himself to hurt her heart, knowing that he loves her, and she loves him too, yet unfortunately fate is not on their side. Later, the detective takes her home because she's completely drunk and not even conscious anymore, but when he leaves and she wakes up, she steps outside and calls the hero, threatening that she's alone on the street, and if he doesn't come to meet her, maybe the criminal will be the one to kidnap her. Worried for her safety, he has no choice but to rush to her. The next day, the heroine wakes up not remembering anything, trying to act clever, But then she gets shocked when the memories hit her, realizing she had been hallucinating and even told the hero that she was an angel in her past life who ran away from him, joking that sometimes a single raisin can turn a stranger into a lover. Embarrassed by what happened, she doesn't even know how to face him again. Meanwhile, the detective submits the hero's photo to the forensic lab to confirm whether it's fake or not. After that, the heroine goes again for a hypnosis session, but is stunned when she sees the memories of the hero's lover, who died 30 years ago. At the same time, the hero is at the station watching a couple fighting because the husband was seen with another woman. The new woman mocks the wife for being fat and ugly, and she learns that her husband is planning to divorce her and marry the other woman. The hero feels sorry when he sees the wife so heartbroken and decides to help her. He climbs to the top of a building and shoots a love arrow at the husband, and suddenly the husband falls back in love with his wife, treats her kindly, and completely forgets the other wicked woman. The wife is overjoyed and thanks him while celebrating her happiness. Then the detective receives the forensic lab report and learns that the photo is real. He sees the hero holding a sniper rifle and immediately remembers that he is the same suspect they've been chasing, pointing his gun at him. At that moment, the heroine decides to go to the house of the hero's lover who died. She sees her mother and feels a strange sense of familiarity, but she apologizes and walks away. Meanwhile, the detective questions the hero about the photo he has, but the hero tells him that the man in the photo is actually his father, and that's why they look alike. The detective goes to check the rifle, only to find out it isn't real, so he believes him for now, though he still suspects the hero of being a pervert spying on girls from afar. When the detective returns to the station, he finds the missing nurse's husband waiting for him, demanding to meet the witness who last saw his wife on the day of her disappearance. But the detective refuses, not wanting to risk the heroine's life. At the same time, the police officer who protects her escorts her home, and she keeps thinking about the things she did while she wasn't in her senses, feeling embarrassed for forcing herself on the hero and fearing he might distance himself from her. The next day, after finishing work at the clinic, she steps outside and is surprised to find the nurse's husband waiting for her, asking to talk. Though hesitant, she agrees, and he tells her he saw her at the station and knows she was the last person with his wife. He begs her to share what his wife told her. The heroine remembers the nurse's words about how she was upset with her husband for always being too busy with work and, sadly, ended up seeing another man. But the heroine doesn't have the heart to tell him this truth, not wanting to hurt him, so she leaves quietly. As she walks away, she suddenly sees the hero following her. She wonders if the nurse's husband pressured her too much, but she's touched by the hero's concern and the way he worries about her. They walk together for a while, but then notice a couple standing nearby, which reminds her of what happened between them yesterday. She feels awkward and chooses a different path. She apologizes to him for what she did, admitting she wasn't in her right mind, then goes inside her home, weighed down with guilt. The hero stays standing outside her door, wanting to tell her that he loves her and isn't angry, but he's afraid she might grow too attached to him and end up hurt. Later at the station, she arrives dressed in strange clothes that surprise everyone. She confidently tells them that the criminal will now fear her and won't dare come near her again. Then she takes them to a place and explains that she has been seeing the criminal in her dreams, watching him kidnap someone. The detective doesn't believe her, brushing it off as nothing more than imagination. But the hero tells them this is the exact place where the criminal kidnapped his father's lover 30 years ago, not his own. Suddenly, the heroine notices a pervert harassing two girls, so she jumps on him and starts beating him up to stop him. The hero laughs at her boldness and later takes her to the house where she once lived, recalling his memories with his past lover. Back then, she used to enjoy making little frog figures out of paper, and to his surprise, the heroine now does the same. He begins to suspect more strongly that she might have been reincarnated, though he still needs more proof. Meanwhile, the detective meets a neighbor who tells him that 30 years ago, 4 young men lived in that house. She adds that one of them was strikingly handsome, almost angelic, and when she shows him a picture, he is shocked to see the resemblance. She even tells him that man had no children, which contradicts the hero's earlier claim that the person in the photo was his father. This makes the detective realize the hero has been lying, and that he has been alive for the past 30 years without aging. The detective storms into the house, grabs the heroine by her hand, and insists that she stay away from the hero. The hero, remembering his master's warning that every time he falls in love with a human woman, she dies, watches the heroine sitting with the detective and nearly gives in to fate. He draws his bow and fires a love arrow at them, but thankfully, it misses. So it seems their love story might still have a chance to continue. That night, the hero sits alone, troubled, before going to see his friend. He confesses, "By the way, I saw what happened between you and the heroine when I was transformed into a dog." The hero is stunned and embarrassed, trying to explain that she was simply tipsy from too much lemonade and that nothing happened, but his friend smirks and says, "Don't lie, boss. You were over the moon at that moment." Flustered, the hero warns him, "If you tell anyone she fell for me, I'll hang you upside down." His friend then admits he knows the hero truly loves her, but finds it strange that nothing bad has happened yet. He even guesses she might actually be an angel like him. At the same time, the detective stares at the old photo of the hero from 30 years ago, baffled at how his appearance has never changed. One of the detective's team comes in, sees the photo, and tells him he'd seen a similar picture in the restaurant, but it looked 100 years old like the hero's grandfather. That makes the detective even more puzzled. Not only hasn't this man aged in 30 years, the photo looks ancient. He remembers the footage of the hero threatening the dog owner with a gun and starts connecting the dots. Back with our hero, he can't stop thinking about what his friend said, that maybe the heroine really is an angel because she's so beautiful and kind. He can't sleep for thinking about her. Meanwhile, the detective decides to go to the restaurant to check that old photo, but the hero beats him there and warns the restaurant owner about the detective snooping, telling him the cop might discover his secret. That night, the heroine receives a message from the missing nurse asking for help. She calls the detective to ask for the nurse's number. He gives it to her, but she won't tell him she called. She jumps in her car and drives straight to the address in the message. The cop who usually watches her is busy and doesn't notice she left, and the detective is called away. He asks a colleague to check the missing nurse's phone and discovers it has been used to send that message to the heroine. Immediately, he knows the heroine's life is in danger and runs to find her. The hero goes to the station but realizes the detective isn't there and figures out what happened. He tries to call her, but she doesn't pick up. The heroine reaches the address and calls out for the nurse, but suddenly the attacker appears. She panics and tries to run, but he lunges at her, knocks her down, and bends over her as if he's about to finish her off. But suddenly, he hears the sound of the police, panics, and runs away. The hero arrives and sees a body covered, thinking it's the heroine and breaking down, but when he sees the face, he realizes it's the nurse and that the heroine is still alive. She's in the hospital, in the operating room after hitting her head. While unconscious, she dreams about her life 500 years ago and learns she was a servant, not an angel like she had thought, remembering her past with the hero and how he loved and protected her. The next day, she wakes up. When the doctor asks how she feels, she starts talking strangely about the angel who saved her, but how she still can't see his face. They think she's hallucinating from the accident. Her friend tries to get her to eat, but she has no appetite after everything that happened. So the hero ends up cooking her favorite food himself. She's happy and loves the taste, and he stays by her side until she falls asleep. Again, she dreams of her past life, and this time she sees the angel's face. She wakes up startled and finds him standing there. She tells him she remembers now. She knows he opened her dreams, and she's finally found the man she's been searching for her whole life. At that moment, the detective goes to the hero's house and meets his friends, surprising them. Then we see a flashback of what happened 500 years ago. The prince wanted to force the servant to marry him, but she loved the hero. On the day of their wedding, the prince's enemies tried to kill her, but the hero arrived just in time and took the arrows for her. That was when the servant decided to throw herself from the mountain so she could be reborn and change her fate. The hero waited for her all those years, and indeed 30 years ago, she was reborn in the body of the woman he loved. Back then, she saved him from death. and he stayed in love with her but feared she would be harmed by him again. On the day she confessed her feelings, he went to wait for her at the mountain, but the criminal kidnapped and killed her. Since then, he's been waiting for her to be reborn without knowing she already had, in the form of our heroine. Back in the present, the heroine wakes up and says he is the fated one from her dreams. But the doctor walks in and covers it up, telling her she must be imagining things because of the operation. Later, the detective sits with the hero and says, "You know what? I saw a wound on your hand, but strangely enough, it disappeared so fast. Look, you're going to tell me why. You will tell me." The hero gets nervous, pretending he doesn't know what he's talking about, and leaves. But the detective, being clever, secretly takes his juice and decides to run a DNA test. Meanwhile, the heroine remembers she managed to scratch the attacker's neck when he tried to hurt her, and she tells the detective. He checks and finds the wound mark on his neck, realizing he's the criminal. Soon the news breaks that the police have arrested the killer who murdered all those women. The nurse's husband and the victims' families collapse in grief and rage, wanting to kill him themselves. Then the DNA results for the hero come back. The doctor says, "This man has no record, no data at all. This is a strange case. I've never seen anything like it." The detective is shocked, convinced now that the hero isn't an ordinary person. At the same time, the hero is meeting with the hypnosis doctor, who explains that the heroine is recalling the memories of the woman who died 30 years ago. The hero is shaken by this, takes the file, and later reads it. He is stunned to see that the heroine described memories he shared with his lost love, that she likes the same things she used to love, and now he understands why he was drawn to her. It confirms to him that she was reborn in the heroine's body. He decides to go to her, but when he arrives at her house, her friend tells him she went up to the mountain because she discovered she still had one more chance left. At that moment, the heroine is on the mountain praying to finally meet her destined love. Suddenly, she hears the hero calling her name. She runs to him, embraces him, and realizes he is the one she has been waiting for. The detective sees them too and recalls his past memories as a prince, feeling jealousy stir inside him. The hero then takes her home, and she is overjoyed that he finally confessed his feelings to her. At last, they are together, ready to make up for all the lifetimes they spent waiting for each other. After that, the hero goes to the station and meets the detective, telling him that he loves the heroine and will never leave her again no matter what happens. The detective gets angry at his words, knowing that he isn't human. He calls the heroine and warns her about him, saying she must stay away because he's an alien. But of course she doesn't believe him, thinking he's being ridiculous. How could he be an alien? The next day, the heroine waits for him outside her house so they can go out together. He takes her to the orphanage where she grew up, bringing gifts for the children there. He plays with them, spends a warm and joyful time, and they grow even closer. Later, the heroine sits with the head of the orphanage, who tells her that the hero looks exactly like the detective who handled the case 30 years ago, because he is actually his son. Meanwhile, the hero is in the storage room and finds a paper listing the 7 deadly sins. The head of the orphanage reacts strongly, telling him it belonged to the former director. She explains that the old director didn't treat the children well and even forced them to write their sins in a red notebook. The children once tried to report her to the police, but then a fire broke out 30 years ago and she supposedly died in it. The hero later visits the prison to question the captured criminal, asking if he was the real culprit and if he killed the director. But the man looks terrified of something and doesn't answer. From this, the hero concludes that the real criminal was actually the orphanage director herself, who faked her death, and that the man they caught was just an orphan she raised and forced to help her with her crimes. Realizing the heroine's life is in danger, he rushes off to protect her. At that moment, the heroine is at the clinic when a strange man with an unseen face walks in with a dog. The heroine feels a strange familiarity as if she knows him from a past life, since she often sees her old connections. The dog is in critical condition, and she immediately operates to save it, managing to rescue its life and assuring him the dog will be fine. We then learn that it was the detective who met them on the way and brought them to the clinic. At that moment, the hero arrives at the clinic, worried, but they reassure him that the heroine is fine. Soon, the people there recognize the hero because they are actually the family of his old lover, and they think he looks exactly like the detective who handled their daughter's case 30 years ago. But the hero quickly convinces them that they are mistaken and manages to talk his way out of it. They leave, but the detective is still suspicious of him. They keep arguing until the heroine steps in, asking them to stop fighting and become friends instead. Of course, the detective refuses, insisting that the hero is an alien. The next day, the detective returns to the station and reviews the case, noting that the witnesses described the criminal as a short man, while the one they caught was tall. From this, he concludes that the real culprit has an accomplice helping him commit the crimes. Afterward, he decides to visit the hypnosis doctor to recall his own past life. And during the session, he discovers that he was once a prince. Meanwhile, the heroine visits the hero's old house. There she finds her rings and also the paintings she had made in her past life, and slowly her memories begin to resurface. When she comes outside, she is stunned to see the hero decorating the garden with lights and flowers, all the things she loves. He finally acknowledges that she was indeed his lover in her past life and tells her he won't ever let her go again. He then takes her to her parents' house. They don't know she is actually their daughter, but her mother kindly invites her inside for dinner as a way of thanking her for saving their dog. The heroine goes into her old room and finds pictures of herself with her friends, remembering her time as a student and realizing how she died young. She breaks into tears, grieving her fate. Later, she joins her family at the dinner table, and they are happy to have her there. She asks them to treat her like their daughter and allow her to visit often to check on them. The hero is deeply moved by her words, saddened that she grew up in an orphanage and had always longed for a family. When they return home, the heroine thanks him and says she now considers him her family and is happy he is in her life. Suddenly, his hand begins to glow. But strangely, the heroine tells him that she loves him no matter what, and that his life doesn't matter to her. She steps closer, and they share a heartfelt moment as she melts into his embrace. At the same time, the detective goes to the hero's old house and discovers the paintings the heroine had drawn in her past life. The detective goes to meet the hero and demands the truth. He confronts him with the drawings and asks if the girl in the pictures is the heroine. The hero has no choice but to admit everything. The truth comes out. He was a prince, and she was his servant, and he once tried to kill her. The detective is stunned by the confession. The next morning, the heroine wakes up terrified that the hero might have changed and that she'll never see him again, but she calls him and finds out he's still there. Then the police discover a new victim's body with a little red notebook beside it labeled "Sin of Illness." They interrogate the man they captured, but he refuses to talk. He acts terrified and keeps saying life is safer in prison than outside. At that moment, something strange happens. The hero's love arrow turns gold, and then, astonishingly, the hero and his friends vanish, returning to their angelic forms. The hero's friend, who had been smitten with the heroine, watches her from hiding and pushes her gently on a swing while she's still out of it from the drugged lemon juice. She's alone, puzzled by the oddities, and almost falls, but the hidden friend steadies her. Suddenly, the arrow changes color again, and the hero and his companions reappear in human form. He scoops her up. She thinks she's hallucinating. Meanwhile, the hero comes to see the heroine, and she's overjoyed, runs to him, and they decide to spend the day together. The next day at the clinic, the dead nurse's husband arrives with his dog in critical condition, begging her to save him. At the same time, the detective goes to the cell of the man they arrested and finds him dead, with a red notebook beside him, labeled "Sin of Jealousy." He realizes the heroine is now in danger. She's the last witness. Back in the OR, the heroine is operating on the dog, but when she hears the man's voice and mannerisms, she remembers the criminal she once saw and is frightened. Flashback. When the husband discovered his wife's affair, he decided to kill her and frame her lover. We learn he was the one who murdered the man in the cell. The real criminal laughs and approaches the heroine, but she pretends everything is normal and asks him to step outside. He goes out, thinking he's safe, and begins plotting how to get rid of her. When the operation ends, the heroine goes to confront him, telling him that his dog's injury is serious and that it was hit on the head with something sharp, not just fallen as he claimed. He gets nervous and lies, saying the dog had run away and when it came back it was already injured. He asks her to take good care of it and then leaves. Right after, the detective and the hero arrive at the same time to check on her. They notice she's not herself, frightened, and she tells them that she was operating on the dog whose condition is critical and that she suspects the owner himself hurt it. Then the detective tells the hero that the criminal they had arrested is dead, with a red notebook beside him, which means he wasn't the real murderer. They decide to cooperate and start searching every house in the city to find the real one. Later, the hero returns home and learns from his friends that at last, there's a way he might stay with the heroine. The method, dear viewer, is to shoot an arrow into a certain spot in his body to stop his transformation. But the chance of success is slim, and if it fails, the arrow could pierce his heart and kill him. None of his friends have the courage to risk doing it. Meanwhile, the heroine visits the hypnotist doctor and tells him she's ready to recall her memories from her past life to hear the criminal's voice, so they can identify him since he always wears masks and changes his appearance. The doctor begins the session, and she sees what happened 30 years ago. The criminal had kidnapped her, and she remembers his voice. That's when she realizes it was the nurse's husband. After that, the hero's friend meets the heroine's friend and tells her everything, and she believes him. He asks her to spend every day with him until his transformation is complete because he loves her and had always wanted to marry her, but now there's no time left. She agrees, and they go out together, visit many places, and enjoy happy moments. At the same time, the hero struggles to delay his transformation when suddenly his master appears before him, scolding him, saying, "My son, you exhaust me. You don't understand. You must surrender already. May God guide you." But the hero refuses to listen and declares, "I will not transform. I'll stay human and live the rest of my life with her." Still, something in his master's words makes him suspect the heroine is in danger, so he rushes to her as fast as he can. At that time, the heroine is at the police station giving her testimony, reporting the criminal she recognized by his voice. The detective takes her with him in his car to make sure she's safe, but then he gets a call from his team saying they found the criminal's hideout. Meanwhile, there's a bomb hidden inside the car and no one notices it. The hero tries to call his beloved and urges her to get out quickly, but her phone falls from her hands. He starts transforming just as the countdown ends, and tragically, the car with the heroine inside explodes. Oh my God, what's happening, everyone? Let's rewind with a flashback to the day before. We learn that the hero had taken the heroine to the place where they were supposed to meet 30 years ago before she died. He confesses his love, gives her a ring, and proposes marriage. She's overjoyed and accepts. He tells her he's found a way to stop his transformation and live as a human so they can stay together. Later, the hero's friend, the one who can transform into a dog, decides to take the risk himself and shoot the arrow. Gathering all his courage, he finally does it while trembling with fear, but dear viewer, he succeeds in hitting the right spot, thank God. The hero awakens, breaking free from the cocoon of transformation, screaming in pain but fighting to save the heroine. Then we jump forward again to the moment of the car explosion. The detective is shocked to see the hero flying with the heroine in his arms, saving her from the blast. When he lands, he spots the criminal escaping in another car. He leaves the heroine with the detective and rushes after the criminal to catch him. The heroine worries because she notices the hero's wings look strange and dark. The criminal flees to an abandoned place, shocked by what he had witnessed, when suddenly the hero appears before him, flying and declaring he will take revenge. They start fighting fiercely, but the criminal stabs the hero in the stomach with a knife, leaving him with severe wounds. The hero bleeds heavily but endures the pain, managing to push the criminal off the rooftop. The criminal falls, haunted by the spirits of all the people he killed. The heroine and the detective arrive at the scene and find the hero collapsed on the ground, gravely injured. She runs to him crying, begging him not to leave her. He holds her hand as his body starts to fade away before her eyes. He disappears completely, choosing to return as a love angel once more. Time passes, and the heroine goes back to visit the hero's old house. She keeps watering the plants, remembering her moments with him, missing him, and wishing she could see him again. She stays gloomy, locking herself in her room, refusing to go to the clinic. The detective keeps visiting, always bringing her food and leaving it with her friend since she doesn't agree to meet him. Until one day, she finally comes out to see him and tells him she's fine now and asks him to stop visiting her. He's hurt by her words but agrees to her request, hugs her and leaves. The heroine then decides to climb the mountain 1,000 times, hoping for a miracle that her lover will return. She keeps doing it, slowly returning to her normal self while continuing with her work. Years pass, and she reaches the 999th climb with just one left. She climbs the mountain once more, praying desperately for the hero to return, but nothing happens. She loses hope, until suddenly she hears a voice calling her name. He appears from behind, and she's stunned when she sees him. She runs closer to make sure she's not dreaming and hugs him tightly, unable to believe her eyes. He tells her that he broke the cocoon and lost his wings, that he's no longer a love angel, and that he has chosen to stay with her and live the rest of his life as a human. Far away, his mentor watches everything with a smile, happy that the hero managed to change his destiny through love. Time passes, and we see the hero and heroine living happily together, blessed with a beautiful daughter. They tell her the story of the love angel who sacrificed his wings to stay with his human lover. Together with her family, they gather joyfully in the restaurant, living in happiness after their love finally triumphed after 500 years. And here, dear viewer, the drama comes to an end. I can now tell you with all my heart, it was truly a masterpiece. All you need to do now is subscribe to the channel because the coming period is going to be pure fire. And don't forget to join. So, if you want good vibes, comfort, and an escape from the sadness and depression of life, then stay tuned, my friend, for the sweetest and greatest drama nights. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Check out more recaps you'll absolutely love right here.